よはじねよはじねはよはじねよはじねあべによべによべによべによはいへよべによべによはいへはよはじねよはじね
So we have back with us for another episode Norma Jacobs, and pretty sure you guys all remember her. But so the first question that I guess I'm gonna start off with, and the only question that I have is, how has colonization had an effect on our society as a whole?
Well, when I think back to being in a longhouse on Sunday when we gathered and gathering the wampum, from all the different nations of people and hearing their story, like unpacking the bundle that they were sent with. And I was thinking, like, how beautiful this is that, that our people can still practice this because it's so ancient. It's so it goes back way before my time, before my father and mother's time, and I just remember a lot of stories from my grandma when she used to go travel, and she said she'd go and cook over in Cattaraugus, and she said, and then she used to take the train there. But just thinking about, you know, how difficult it must have been for Handsome Lake, like to travel, to these communities and to bring this message of goodness, of attitudes and behaviors, and to talk about a culture that was so giving and yet so free. And I don't know if free is actually a good word because, um, people have so many different ideas about freedom. But I just think, that everything was about choice, and to me, like, that's so, it's so uplifting to know that you have a choice on how you want to live your life, and how you want to follow something and nurture that gift that you have and to let it keep building within you, to practice and for it to show itself like in our communities. And like what better way would there be than to be able to share our crops, to share, helping one another, like in planting or doing whatever, working, like building a home for somebody, um, but just coming together to share and learn so much from each other from building, you know. And I think, like, to me, that was the foundation of us as Haudenosaunee people was to build that house. And I think that we're so fortunate that we still can work at that, to build that house again, because of the interference from outside, from the colonization and their belief and their systems, which really devastated who we are as a people. Because in our canoe, like we had everything. We had our language, we had our families, we had our teachings, we had our own food, we knew all of this. We had knowledge about our relationship to the land, and today, like, you got to have a license to go hunting, and it's always about money, and what can you really do with money? And it goes, I remember Dan George from a long time ago, how he spoke, and he said, it's only until the last fish is eaten that you can realize that you can't eat money. And that really impacted me, because when I thought about it, it's like, what's he really talking about? Because I see a lot of people who go to work, who want to work, go to work. And, they want a beautiful home, they want a beautiful car, and, it seems like it caused a lot of competition for our people too, because now we want to keep up with the Joneses. We want to have a 4-car garage and, huge, humongous house. And, and we were happy. Like when I was growing up, we had a 2-room house, a bedroom, and my parents, like they had the bedroom in the front, and the kids were all in the back bedroom. And my mom used to have her cook stove, and what they would be their living room and their bedroom and kitchen. And it was roomy for all of us. We knew where everything was. We kept order in our house. And, so we knew where everything was. We didn't have to, store it. And when I think about storage, and I see all these storage buildings being built, I was like, why are you storing all that stuff? Like, just get rid of it, you know? And I'm in the same place because I want to get rid of my stuff too. And, and I think, like my son's got one of those sea cans out there. He's got all of his farm stuff in there. But I also have stuff that I bought over time, and I don't use it, so I just put it back there. But there's so much like in that world outside of us that we don't really need. And when I think about that, I think about the corn husk. Like they talked a little bit about that today. Not the corn husk, but they talked about value, and they talked about, when you get up in the morning and you're going to a ceremony, he said, "Esada disnyo, kausenyo to hase, senho driftengyo." Like, look after yourself, and fix yourself up before you go to ceremony. And what does that really mean? So I think about, when we were made as human beings and we were sent on this journey, that we were like a corn husk doll. And in that corn husk doll, it comes from white corn. We planted that, and that was the seed. The original seed is from the white corn, as it's got a dimple in it. That's what it looks like. And that's the real original corn. So when that was gifted to us, and out of that one kernel of corn, we got a stalk of corn, and it became connected to the mother, and the mother nurtured it because there was the soil, there was the water, and you have to, sing songs to it when you plant. You got to go out there and talk to your garden, and you got to put in support. So you put stakes in sometimes for some of the plants. And, my mom said, that's like your kids. That's your family you look after in the garden. So we harvest that corn and we make corn husk dolls. We tell stories about that corn husk, where it came from, the origination of it, and the purpose for it. Well, we use corn husk dolls for our children, they play with, and we're supposed to use that corn husk, and, we make a doll, and when we're making that doll, we have all kinds of thoughts. So we clear that when we're, it's a medicine. It helps to clear our thinking. So we, clear our minds. And, it's a good day. Give thanks for the day. Haudenosaunee, Haudenosaunee. You know, and so we're fashioning this doll and we're putting all those thoughts in there. We make the head part. We wrap it really careful and we're thinking about this corn. What were those messages that we heard that was sent in that corn, in that bundle when we left the sky world? And, we had like leadership in the sky world. Like they counseled and they talked to each other and they said, this person's going on a journey. What do you want to give? What's kind of message you want to give them? And so they put their idea in there, and maybe it's about values, so we're wrapping those, thinking about those values, how I live my life, how do I take care of myself? How do I take care of my good thinking? Where does that come from? Where did I learn that? So we fashion that mind and, we cleanse our minds and clear it all up. And then we think about our eyes, our ears, our nose, our mouth, all of those things that are connected because they came from that connection of in the mind, in the head. And we look after those things and give thanks. I'm grateful. I have another day. I can see the sunrise. I can see the sunset. And I can see my family. I can see how beautiful creation is. And you put yourself in a place that of gratefulness, of humbleness. And then when you're, wrapping that doll next, you put their arms on, put the body together, and you tie those things up, and you just have corn husks, because you use corn husks to tie it off to, and you make the legs, giving thanks that, these arms, like, they're so beneficial for me, because I can cook, I can wash myself up, and I can wash my children. I can work in a garden. I can do these things now, and you go to your, inside your heart, your lungs, and you give thanks because they're all working, to sit up and you can breathe, and you don't have no cough and no wheezing, now, I give thanks for that. They're working, all your organs, and you go through your body, you give thanks for everything. Your legs, your muscles, you can move around, you can stand up, you can walk, and everything inside is working because you went to the bathroom. You cleaned yourself out from the night before. And now, and you start doing other things for your family because you took care of all of those things within you, first of all. And then, after that, and my mom would say, Sadak no kwak. So that was like, well, be good to yourself. So how do you do that? As you take good food that you planted out in the garden, syrup that you harvested, and medicines that you went to gather in the woods from the fields. You picked berries, you ate that, and they all come at a time when it's right for them to, the season is right, and that's the food that we're supposed to be eating at that time of the year because it's medicine for us. We're getting ready from that midwinter time, and we're already preparing to get ready for the next winter by the cycle of foods that we eat. So we gather garlic and wild onions and leeks, everything, and we take that in. That's being good to ourselves, sadak no kwak. So you drink water, and water a long time ago, nobody told us you had to drink water because it was in our food, because the land was rich. There was a lot of water in our foods and vegetables. So we, take that, give thanks for the cycle that, we're following because we're looking after us. So you can do lots of things when take care of yourself. And, that was so powerful for me to think about, to like be good to yourself. How many times do we hear that? Hardly ever. It's easy to go to get fast food, you know, and it's quick. You're in a rush because we're influenced by outside events, lacrosse, hockey, sports, everything. We got to go there. We got to belong on a team. We got to do this. We got to do that. And it takes us away from honoring who we are. So, we're told that we're not supposed to play lacrosse as women because our bodies are not made for that. And I've heard that, from my great grandmother, to tell us like there's boundaries. We have boundaries. We have limits to what we can do. And that's like a sadaknokwak, looking after yourself and looking after the values that were given to us. That's our foundation. So, we think about that, and we think, well, we got to eat this, and that's we get good health from that because we're looking after ourselves, eating good foods, drinking water, and all these other things. We're all, if we have medicine, like we drink that too, and every day we have some kind of medicine that's available to us. Like there's, I forget the name of it. That's how colonized I am. I was thinking about the squita, I don't know. They always serve this at Cattaraugus, and they have that tea. Forget what it's called. Sassafras. Yeah. And and there's all kinds of teas that we can make from the environment, and they bring us health. And we've lost that part. Some people are trying to revitalize that. And it's hard to look when you don't have resource, when you don't have old people to identify those trees or those medicines or the words, because we have put aside our language, and not willingly, so thinking about that, and then my mom would say, "Sadat guanyos," So what does that mean? Well, when you're eating right, you're looking after yourself. You're taking care of your thoughts and your whole functioning of your body, and you're grateful and you're humble. We give thanks. He says, and when you walk into a room, he said, it's like somebody decent sent you, because you just glow with all of these gifts that were given to our people. And it's so powerful. That we were given all of these things, and colonization came and ripped everything apart to make us feel worthless, and that we were nothing, that we didn't know nothing. And yet when I go back and I, attend a ceremony like this, and I think, how could people think that, we had a democracy. We had, that liberty to do and to make choice. And people talk today about, being free. We're free because we live in Canada or the United States. It's not true. Because they're only free because they live under the rules of the kingdom. So, in our teachings, like, I'm so grateful that I was raised the way that I was. My mom made me go to Longhouse, and she used to make our cookies, and my grandma used to make our regalia, and she didn't have no scissors, and she used to bite the material and tear it, and she'd sew it by hand, and she'd send us to the ceremony. And my mother didn't come with us because she was in a residential school. She was taught not to be that way, but she knew that we should learn. And so she made us go there. And sometimes as kids, we would fight on the way to ceremony, and somebody would say, "Oh, we see Norma, she was rolling around in a ditch." She says, and she was crying and she was mad, so they had to stop and give me a ride to go to the ceremony, make sure I got there. But, all of those things, the little things that, are taken for granted. Like, our people worked hard. We have knowledge beyond, like, we're scientists, we're doctors and we're nurses. We just don't call them that. They're just a part of our life that takes care of us. Taking care of each other. I always think that, if we did that, took care of each other and talked to each other, like, we wouldn't have the problems today. And I heard that, in a ceremony. Guys. Talk to each other, that's where you get your resolve from issues that you carry, But we are taught about jealousy from non-native people. Jealousy, competition, and our people are there today. We had everything in our canoe. I always used to think about that because, when long time ago, when they first started radio, we got a radio here, and they wanted they want to play blues music, and they want to play our songs, and like they want to get recognition for having music. I want to get an award for that. Like, why? Like, to me that was silly, was foolish. Why do we want to get recognition from out there? We have it here, and we're so full-bodied with everything, with our songs. Like comparing our gardens to our family, like such beautiful stories that we've missed out on. From the old people. They're the ones who had this experience, and they knew the language, and they knew how to tell stories. And one thing I don't think that we have anymore is we're not afraid of nothing. A lot of kids are out, like, they're not scared. When we were growing up, we had scary stories. They used to talk about Gansa, that you see that walking down the road at night, and you're by yourself. And they said it goes like this. It's running, going down the road. And I was like, wow, who would want to see that? I wouldn't want to see anything like that. But I remember all those ghost stories they used to tell. They said, oh, we seen this animal running around and we tried to capture it. It looked like a pig. And they said, and we finally caught up to it and we tied it to the tree. And they said the next day they went back because they were going to take it and take it to their house. And here they went there and there was nothing there. There was just that rope that they tied it with. And it had escaped or disappeared into whatever because it was that human, that transformation like they talked about, and they used to call it otgo. But it was the power of the mind. And I think about that too in terms of, the power of the mind. Like we could do so many things. And I know that traveling with our mind is really powerful. My friend tried it and she said she went from here. She went to visit her friend way out in Alberta. She just sat there and she thought about her. She said, and she got to her house and she said, and all of a sudden she thought, what if I can't make it home? And so she just lost her focus and she was back in her house. She said, but the next day her friend called her and she said, you were here yesterday. She said, how come you didn't stay? So we know that medicine, to be able to travel and the songs that go with it, so, there's so much in our power that we haven't even accessed yet because we haven't gotten back there to know and to have the wisdom of our old people. So, colonization has really, broken up our relationships and it's still continuing today. We're like, even all of these illnesses that come about is meant to separate us. So we don't talk, so we go back into isolation. It's just like being in a residential school again. Everything they do, my mom used to say, they just do things. They practice on that, but they never look at what the effects are. They just want to build. They want to manufacture. They want to make something new so people can buy it. It's an entertainment for them. And they never think about, well, what's this going to do to the families? How is it going to, is it going to be beneficial for them? And it usually isn't. Like right now we have all these 5G towers around. Like it's done more interference than anything. We have new illnesses. Every year there's a new flu, and why? Because we're digging up the ground all the time. All of that stuff was supposed to be there. That's why we had boundaries. It's supposed to dig so deep so that you can plow and, plant your garden. Can't go up in the sky too far because we don't know what's up there. But what did they do? They went to the moon. Who knows what was up there? They brought it back. And it's thinking about boundaries, because we're always told that we don't go across the water. And that salt was there to protect us in the Atlantic Ocean. And they said if you go over there, like you lose some of what you are, some of your being. You never come back the same. So I think about all those people who travel, like they go on a trip and go across the water. What do they bring back that interfered illness, disease? It affected us. And they have all these weird bugs now that are coming back. and they don't belong here, but they got attached to something in their travel case or on their shoes or whatever, and they brought it here. So there was a reason for putting up boundaries. And we're so lucky we're surrounded by mountains on every coast, to protect us. That's our grandfathers, with all of their teachings. And yet people still go across the water because it's about honoring, because it's about explaining, or it's about protesting, or requesting to be released from the doctrine of discovery. And why do we even pay attention to that? Like, this is our country. This is who we are. And we should just make a statement, and people have to believe us. Because all over the world, they've taken parts of our Confederacy, the whole makeup of the Confederacy. They've taken parts of it to apply in their government. But they never say that's where it comes from. It's from here. So, and, I remember one of our speakers a long time ago, he said, when it comes to this time, he said, I would go to my boss, he said, and I would say, God, go and say, I got to have time off, he said, because I got to go and I got to do this preaching for the people. And his boss would say, okay, you can go 4 weeks, be gone. And I said, and today, like, people would rather go to work than to come to ceremony, or to state to our own people that we work for and say, I'm going to Longhouse this week. And you know what? For that fact, I'm going for 4 weeks. So I'll see you when I get back. What's going to happen in that time? Nothing. Because there's really no production that you can do in 1 month that would be beneficial for the people. Because it takes time. It takes time to build, on a value and figure out if it's going to be beneficial for just me, or is it going to be beneficial for my family? Is it going to be beneficial for my clan or for my nation? That's how much thinking we got to do before we make a decision about something. And, I think, for, like, I love it that people are learning their language. I'm happy about that. But where we could really make an effect is if they went to ceremony. Because there you get to hear it, you see it in practice. Like, I went to the Sing in Schweigen in the fall, I think, and I watched everybody and how they were, like, they talked to each other, everybody was laughing, they were having a good time, and they fed everybody, they nurtured all of the elders, and everything was just perfect. They danced, they sang songs, and everybody was happy. I said, we should be doing this every day, because we wouldn't have no need for mental health or physical health or emotional health, because it's right here. We're activating it right here, but we gotta do other things because we're not free. And, I work with some other organizations. I was like, why are you asking for permission? Like, this is our country, and that's our money, that we need in order to run this event. Why are you asking for permission? Just do it. Just do it and get it done. And then you can say, these are the These are the good things that came out of it. You're still, if you have to report to the government, you still got a report to do, and everybody's, they're going to wonder about that. That's probably what they don't understand is why we're still here. Because we're still participating in our ceremonies. So, colonization has really devastated our communities, but it's also given us an opportunity to recognize what happened to us, through this awareness of, like my mom went to residential school, and my grandmother used to always threaten us to, if we're bad, do you want to go to Shenwak? She'd say, that's one of the residential schools here. And, we were threatened, and, I was like, I don't want to go there. I want to be with my family. So we had to go to school. They said, if you don't go, the Indian agent's going to come and he's going to take you, and you won't ever see us again. That's what they understood. So, we had to straighten up because we didn't want to go to Shenwak. We didn't want to go to residential school. My mom was there, but she never talked about it. And only how I learned from her experience was because I watched her. I watched her behavior. I watched how things changed for her when something was going wrong. She would clam up. She wouldn't talk, because she learned that over there. So, we're if we look around in our communities, we're still carrying that. We don't talk to each other. We don't know when we're kids. We used to go over to Scuddy Hills there and Carrie's. They had a farm, and we used to sit down and eat, and the table was long, almost long as at the longhouse today at the dining hall. And, and our families would come there. And Scotty had a big family. And we all sit down and eat, our family and their family. And the table was covered with food. Pies, everything. Potatoes, meat. They had everything, and those guys would talk after, smoked a pipe. To me, those were the good times. Because people shared their stories, could talk, hear the women talking and telling their stories, and the men were smoking over there, I don't know what they were talking about, but I always, could hear the laughter from the women. And that's another thing we don't have, is we don't have laughter that comes from way down deep inside of us. It's only from here. And I remember those women, how they used to laugh. Almost fall off of their chair because they were laughing so hard, and telling stories about each other. Or just telling about their, the things that happened to them. But, so many things that, that colonization did, that, we're still trying to work our way out of all of that, to rise up and to be who we really are, who we were meant to be. Why did we get this earth, And I think of the medicines that we had, and when my brother was sick, and I had a dream, and it said he needs some mud. And I thought, mud? What could that do? And yet, when the Turtle Island started, those animals brought mud from the bottom of the water, brought that up and put it on the earth. That was medicine, because it grew everything in creation. So I remember when we were kids, we used to make mud pies and we'd dry them in the sun. We used to eat them. That was good. And we never thought anything that we were poor or nothing like that. We had fun, you know. We'd share our mud pies with each other, you know, they're sisters and brothers. But I told my brother, I said, like, that's what my dream was, that you should eat mud. But where can we find good mud today? You know, that's not contaminated by something. So I think that the more that we think about, you know, the gifts that were given to us and how we view our creation story, you know, that we can really empower ourselves to come back in full force to be who we are, and to give and to have that good life that was meant for us. Because you know, everything that I hear, you know, is about peace. And I always have I had a book. I was making a like a catalog for myself, and I would put pictures in there or cards. And I remember saying, where is this peace, you know, that we're supposed to have in our community? I was like 16, you know. Well, where is it? Because all I seen was conflict, you know, party here, party there, you know, no respect for anybody or anything, you know. And when I hear these stories that we're talking about in this 4 days, like, it's a discipline, it's about reflection, you know, it's about um you know, that reflection is like looking at ourselves and examining, you know, that those words that my mom said was sada diste, you know, and sada baños, sada knukwak, you know. And we need to learn so much about that yet, about, you know, our women, how our women are treated, you know, and how they act sometimes, and you know how they dress, how, you know, like the way some people dress, like I'm in shock, because what happened to our sacredness, you know, of our bodies? Because long time ago they were had, you know, that's how we had leggings, and you know, we covered our bodies, you know, because it's sacred. And today we like have little halter tops and bikinis and, you know, things like that that really take away, is that really honoring who we are? So yeah, there's so many things like about identity, and because they talked about the deer today and how he has, you know, when you go hunting, you know, a male and a female. I was like, that's us, you know. That's why they tell us long time ago. I haven't heard this for a long time, but they used to say that, you know, women, that we don't color our hair or wear makeup or nail polish, um, you know, because we have everything that we're sent with. That's just how Creator wanted us to look. So we're unidentifiable from each other, you know, and we all have a certain look that people recognize, and that's how they know who you are. But I remember Tom Porter. He talked about. He said, "Oh, this woman." He said she went to treatment, and she was in the treatment for a while. He said because she was trying to get her kids back, and he said, and she came out, and she went to the doctors to get a checkup, and she said, "How long do you think I have to live yet?" And so the doctor looked at her and checked her. Oh, he said, "You're going to have a long life." He said, "You're doing really good. You know, you're sober. You cleaned up your life." He said, and he says, and so she said she went to the beauty shop, and she got her hair done, got it cut, and got it colored, and got makeup on, and got her nails done. He says, and she just looked like really, really, really nice when she came out. And she went to cross the street and she got hit by a car and she died. And so she went to some white diesel's land, and so she said, "What happened?" She said, "I was told by the doctor that I had a long life." He said, and now you're telling me that I died and I'm here." And he said, "Oh," he says, "I didn't recognize you. I didn't know that was you." I wanted to tell you about my book that I wrote. I don't know if you've seen it before.
I bought it.
Yeah.
You told me.
Oh yeah.
Last time.
Yeah.
So I went out to Aircraft and bought it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay. I remember going on that trip with my boss. I haven't read it yet, but I
No.
want to read it though.
Yeah. So it's a lot about like how people have lost their identity, and and when I did the teaching about the Thanksgiving and some of our ceremonies and what it's meant to do for us, like and they reflected on that and what they lost in their life, like parenting skills and just even like in their relationships, and because some of them are Métis, and what does that really mean? And like it's it covers a lot of things about not having that communication, to really understand one another, where we come from and why are we here, and how do we live life in a good way, by being complementary to each other. And that was the other thing I wanted to talk to you about was, are you done? Like, are you, because I'm thinking about right now, about our relationships, because I've been able to identify, like I think about like Halloween now, and I think about, well, it takes me a long time to make a decision. Like, should I have Halloween or shouldn't I? Or should I celebrate Christmas or not? But I think that they're all part of our story, because Halloween is, it's about sacred, burial practices and ceremony, comes from the Mexican people, and even all of these like Mardi Gras and stuff like that. Like there's a story behind there, but people have lost their story because of colonization. And I'm thinking about those four quadrants in the medicine wheel, because there's black and red and white and yellow. And I always thought of that as our nations of people, and those boundaries, because there's blocked off by a white, I think. And I always thought that we were all given instruction, and that how we live our life, like how we follow, because of the land that we live on. Because all of our lands are different, but it tells us a story about us, where we come from, and our responsibility. So when we get our name, it ties us to that place. It describes us, where we come from, and the nation we belong to, and our gifts in that territory. Like when I think about Guisasne, and all of those, and Knawake, the place of the rapids, and the partridge drums, like what does that really mean? Like, how does that identify the people? Because it's part of their skill, their life, like they're learning from that partridge, they're learning from those rapids, and us as people of the pipe, like what does that mean? Where's our land? It's supposed to be over there by Rochester somewhere, where there's a lot of clay, where we used to fashion pipes, pottery. So when we get our name, that we're unidentifiable from the land. We know our place. We know our responsibility. So those quadrants that are separated, I always think of it as a bicycle wheel, that it's not turning in a good way. It's all crooked and bent because we lost our ways due to colonization, because they twisted our stories and they twisted our truths. We all know the truth, but people are afraid to talk about it because of backlash, because of punishment, because of death, because of threats, and I think that those quadrants were meant to help us to discipline ourselves to come back to who we are. And once we find out who we are, our origins and our stories and our songs, that wheel will turn again in balance. But we got to know who we are. We got to know where we came from. We got to know what our purpose. We got to know those stories. We got to know those songs of the place that we were originated from. Then there'll be peace, because then we'll understand each other and things that we've been taught, because we have the similarities, but because of colonization, they become like a tool to make money, and it's not about value. Like when we have death, like they talk about gunno, it's costly, and it's costly to our mind, to our emotions, to our spirituality, to our physical, because it's a lot of work. We got to take care of lots of things, and we got to pass that person to another realm, and that's hard. So we have our stories, we have our ceremonies that put us in a place that makes it easier by talking to them. And that's how I know that when we were sent here, they sent us with a bundle, and they counseled before we came here to tell us what our purpose was and how to reinstate ourselves and to honor who we are, to teach us, when we open that bundle, I have a question, like, where is that in here? We got to search for it, and once we find that, which is our true self, like, we can just keep moving and growing and being so, like they say, when you go to ceremony, you come out of there, you feel like you're walking on air, because that's how powerful the ceremony is to uplift us, and a lot of people I know that didn't know language come out of the longhouse and they say, wow, I feel different, well, why? Well, that's why, because you connect with your true self in that ceremony. So I think that that's really important. I think that's part of what this book is about, is to lead people back into who they really are. Where is their place of origin, and what were their teachings? What were their songs? And why did they feel the need that they had to interfere in ours? When we had already our teachings about staying in our own canoe. We have lots of things, to that colonization interfered, like our bloodlines. People are thinking about that now in identity. Where do you have a cutoff for your identity if you're non-native? If you're married to a non-native, where's the cutoff then for your kids? like we had the mother, that's our bloodline, that's what we followed. That's our status, is our bloodline. And our roles and responsibilities come in our bundle. You know, we all have a purpose and we all have knowledge, but we can't share that knowledge if we don't come together and talk. You know, we have to get rid of those barriers that were, you know, brought about by non-Indigenous people, by colonization. So, you know, those boundaries, we have boundaries, we understand our boundaries. You know, what's our business like? And they talk about that in you know, the council meetings. That's not our business. That's Oneida business. That's Mohawk business. That's Cayuga business. You know, we don't get involved in those things because we know who we are. We know our purpose. We know our place. So, like, look at the U.S. and Canada. They're in everybody's business. And they don't take care of the people here, first of all, because this is our country. And, you know, they send money, millions and billions of dollars across the ocean to war, to carry on war. You know, that's not why we're here. That's why it was so beautiful here. You know, we have color, we have change in season. We have, you know, our food that grows in the woods, wild berries, wild, you know, nuts that we gather in the fall. They were all meant to give us health, you know, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. You know, and that's, you know, like when I go longhouse, like I think about all of these things, you know, how could somebody label us as not having any skill, not having any knowledge? So, yeah, you know, we have so much. You know, our cup is just overflowing how much knowledge we have and how much wisdom we have, but we have to put it to work. Because the trees don't grow without our help because we acknowledge and validate them. You know, people, we have to acknowledge and validate them and, you know, let them know that they're valued by us. And, you know, the berries don't get to be stored if we don't go and gather them. They all have a responsibility, but we do too. That's how we build relationship. You know, is to go out and to work in the fields, make them feel welcome, make them know that we're waiting for them, you know, to show themselves, to come and visit us so that we can carry on. They give us hope.
So
Maybe I'm done.
So where can the viewers find your book?
Online and you have the bookstores like Amazon or in the bookstores. There's lots of bookstores, and over there at Aircrafts at Six Nations, and there's another bookstore in Bradford, but I don't know the name of it. It's Indian owned, so. But it's people tell me that it's all over in the universities. They use it in a university now. In their Indigenous studies classes.
And what is the title of it?
It's called Ondagahodas, and it means coming to a place of compassion. So when we understand each other and we're clear in our, you know, our conversations, sharing our stories, that we understand each other completely. And if we have questions, like, you know, they can answer, and so we get to understand everything about them. And that's the mistake that happened when colonization arrived here, was they never really listened to us. They never understood, and they never really put into practice because they were just words. You know, we have treaties that talk to us yet to tell us about the things that transpired and what the belts mean, you know, but they didn't think that meant anything. And yet those things are so powerful. Like, you know, you put your hands over it, you can feel the energy from it because it's our ancestors that are telling this story.
So I just wanted to say now for letting me interview you again, and I'm hoping to definitely do some more interviews with you in the future. We'll probably have multiple parts of just me interviewing you.
Okay, that's good. I'm writing right now because I'm like trying to get some other thoughts about, you know, lots of different things and perspectives, and trying to put it into a place of understanding and balance. Mm.
So now for your time, and that is all for this interview. I have
No.
to cut you off there.
You're cut off.
Did you know that the average US consumer throws away 81.5 pounds of clothes a year? The main contributor of that statistic is fast fashion, specifically brands like Romley, Cider, H&M, Zara, Forever 21, and Shein. Many people shop from these brands because of their affordability, but the quick, unethical, and environmentally harmful production is what allows their prices to be so cheap. Often the clothing is only made to be worn a few times, which also allows the consumer to keep up with rapidly changing fashion trends. Most of these pieces of clothing are made with polyester and other synthetic materials that don't break down over time. Production of clothing sold by fast fashion also allows for further pollution of the water and the environment of places where production is taking place. In order to offset the unsustainability of their brands in the eyes of consumers, most times their solutions fall under the term greenwashing. Greenwashing is a PR tactic used to make a company or product appear environmentally friendly without meaningfully reducing its environmental impact. Some of these tactics include coming up with other solutions rather than addressing the real problem of why they are producing so much clothes and the harm that productions create towards the environment. So, what can we do? First, we can start by not purchasing from these brands, and although this may be difficult, looking for more environmentally friendly clothing shops. Another way is by holding these brands accountable for their claims of sustainability. And lastly, another option is shopping from secondhand stores. To find out when new episodes are released, follow Haudenosaunee Environmental Task Force on Facebook and Voices for the Earth on Instagram. I would also like to say Nyawa to Aaron Printup for the music. Nyawa for listening.